Yo, this is Wavy da Ghawd on the Renaissance Show, man. Tap the fuck in, man. Big walk.
All right, so you guys are now tuned in to the Renaissance Show. My name is Alex Kuchma, and I have here with me yet another very special guest. This guy, as a producer, has been in the scene for the last few years anyhow, and has just been on the up and up over and over and over again, producing these excellent albums, beat after beat after beat. This dude has worked with cats like Kaine, like Rem, like Rome Streetz, and Ace on Eastwood, a bunch of cats that you guys are familiar with if you're tapped into this Renaissance kind of scene at all. And if you're a fan of this show as well, we've had multiple of these guests on here in the past. He has a new album out exclusively on Bandcamp called God's Eden. Please welcome to the show, Wavy da Ghawd. What's good?
Yo, peace. How you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm doing fantastic on my end here. I said this at the beginning of the call, but I can't thank you enough for taking your time out of your night to speak to me. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, man, I appreciate you for having me, man.
Man, 100%. Like I said, I've been, and we kind of talked about this a little bit just a second ago, but I've been tapped into you over the last few years. I interviewed Kaine, Rome Streetz back in 2019, maybe 2018, and at that period of time, they were working pretty extensively with you, and you've kept those relationships up over the years. This new album has Kaine and Rome Streetz on it quite a bit, so you've kept these relationships up, but I've seen your name kind of, I don't know, circulating in the blog sphere, in the kind of the new hip hop scene. So if you're tapped in every Friday and you're seeing these new releases week after week after week, your name is in here. You're in the mix all the time. And I've been tuned in on a music front and listening to the shit that you end up putting out musically, but I really don't know anything about you. So I'm hoping that this conversation will be a good kind of way in order to, I don't know, to gain some insight into who you are as a producer and as an artist kind of in this scene. Because I'm a fan of everyone that you've worked with, and I'm a fan of the music kind of first and foremost.
Well, I mean, if I want to start from anywhere, I'll start from I never, was raised in New York City. I'm from Florida originally. I was born in New York, but I'm originally from Florida.
Okay.
But I was heavy. It was heavy influence from NYC hip hop from the early stages. I didn't get into producing till I got into my 30s, man. Like honestly, I was always into hip hop all the way from high school up to this point. But I was always interested in beat production, but I never took the time to sit down and actually, construct the beat. So when I finally had the time, to sit down and make these beats, man, I was living on a farm in Oklahoma at the time. I had nothing really to do, so I started getting into beat production out there. And I lived in a farm life, making beats, honing my skills, out there. And then finally I came to the, back to Florida, then moved to NYC, and and I started showcasing my skill. And then, people started, the first MC I met when I came to NYC was on Rome Streetz.
Wow. What a name.
And yeah, man, that was the first MC I met out here. He had probably 2,000 followers at the time, but literally probably had 2,000 followers. That's about it. Standard shit. And people knew who he was, man, because he was always a dope MC. He always had a reputation on the street. No internet shit. But I watched the situation grow, and I was part of the process too for him, and for the rest of my brothers as part of my Walkers camp that I'm part of. You know what I'm saying? And we all for the past 5 years, me and my people's been growing musically, man. We've been trying to tap into that new level of ascension, with sound, and as far as what the MC brings and what they write the content, and as far as the producers in our camp, that what we bring to the table as far as sound goes, is we trying to be innovative, man, because like you said, there's a new renaissance is going on right now, and we have an understanding in that and a responsibility in a way to uphold that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because this music is always going to be timeless, and people got to preserve that shit. That's what, like this is where true artistry comes from. This is the essence of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people when they write their lyrics to these instrumentations, man, they put in their heart, they put their pain into this shit. Even if they choose to be foolish or ignorant, at least they're being crafty with their wordplay and how they putting shit together. It ain't about it ain't about harmonization as far. They really working. They're really focusing on the wordplay and the dialogue. You dig?
Yeah, man, this scene is something special. I have this conversation all the time, but it truly is. And I said this before, but in 10, 20, 30 years, we're going to look back at this scene and honestly recognize that the time we're living in right now is producing some of the illest rap music that I've ever heard. I've been like I don't know, whatever you would, I don't know, I don't like to label myself at all, but maybe like a quasi, I don't know, hip-hop journalist over the last 10, maybe 11, 12, 13 years or so, and been tapped into the scene anyhow, right? Writing for different magazines, interviewing different cats for quite a while. And even before that, I was a hip-hop fan. And this scene has given me way more excitement in terms of the music itself than any other time that I've been alive. Almost to the point where this is just as exciting for me as when I was in high school and I had my Walkman and I would go through and I would listen to the classics, right? When I would walk to school and listen to Mobb Deep's The Infamous. And then when I found out that they had another album, Hell on Earth, and I listened to that for the first time after sitting and really letting The Infamous kind of, I don't know, soak right over the last few months and walking and doing these trips and just listening to that album back to back and then getting that excitement when I find Hell on Earth and then listen to that for the first time. With this scene, it feels like every week gives me that same sort of excitement. And I've been tapped into the scene for a minute now, and this is, over the last few years, this is way more exciting. The music is just on a higher caliber than almost anything else I've ever heard before. This shit is beautiful, and you're right in the middle of it, right? You mentioned the first person that you ended up meeting was Rome Streetz, and you mentioned the Walkers, right? I had this conversation with Rim recently, and he was kind of, I don't know, illuminating me on what the Walkers was, and that was an idea that I wasn't familiar with before. But the fact that you guys are all kind of this collective, this group that are putting out shit, and that it's amazing to me. Like the Standouts, yourself, you got Eddie Kaine, you got Rome Streetz, you got Farris out in Detroit. Like the shit is coming full circle, but it's this scene, right? There's something special about this scene, and you're right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. Sure am. You know, and then like, and only now in realization, like most folks are starting to understand that. Like, I've been in the middle of this whole thing this whole time. Like,
yep.
not in the beginning of no West Side Gun or Smooth or Hustler Kingpin. Like, sure. Shout out to them. They, you know, I came at the end of where their glory started to pay off. You know what I'm saying? That's when I started coming around. I came around more in the age of Rome Streetz, put it like that.
So when you're in Oklahoma, what are you listening to at that period of time? Like, you're producing, so clearly you have some sort of taste in rap. Well, like, what's the shit that you're actually listening to at that period of time? And when is that? Is that like 2014, 15, 16? Like, when are we talking about chronologically?
You're hitting the nail on the head. It's actually around those times, yes.
Perfect.
And because I was living out there. I was living out there and in Georgia. I was like between those years, I was living there in Oklahoma and in Georgia. You know, doing industrial farming, poultry farming, and you know, it was a shitty job, but like you know, sure. It was the best paying job I've ever had. You know, and long story short, you know, like. I gained a new skill being out there because, you know, it was different. I'm like a city boy in a way. So for me to change my demographic to go into a country demographic and start living off the land and doing things that's not in my nature, but they're showing me how to live a different way. Not only that, the boredism that I had on top of that, man, I gained another skill. You know, I always wanted to know how to make beats, man. It was like a dream to me at one point in time. Now it's a reality, you know, like, because it was more important to me because I had people that influenced. I seen people that was around me like that were making beats before me, and these guys like they like blew my brain apart when I seen them actually construct a beat for the first time. I had peers that had MPCs that did shit, and I was like, whoa, like my cousin is what broke the camel's back, the camel's back for me, because everything that he did, I felt like it was like a challenge. It's like I always try to pick up on what he did because I used to look up to him so much. So, I finally I became a respectful producer up to this point. Like I don't even know how to look at my situation in this new renaissance, because it's like of the norm. It's like it's normalized to me,
Yeah.
It's most people I grew up listening to. Like I grew up off of like the Purple tape. You dig?
Yeah.
I'm from that era. Like I'm from that era. Like when Liquid Swords was out, when Liquid Swords came out, I was like in the 8th grade. Like that ass. I remember when that shit came out. That shit was like, and I was like one of the few kids that was like listening to that shit. And the fly shit about it is that the only motherfuckers that was listening to that shit in my area of Florida, because you gotta remember where I'm from.
Yep.
We're like the skateboarders.
Were you a skateboarder yourself? That's the scene I grew up in, and it was skate videos that did it for me in a lot of cases. Like I had an older sister. My sister's 10 years older than me, and I'm born in 93. So the late 90s is I'm a little kid, and I'm starting to get into rap music because that's what my sister's into at the time. And when I get a little bit older, maybe 8, 9, 10 to maybe early teens, I'm skateboarding, and it was going over to my friends' houses and watching shit like Plan B's Virtual Reality and hearing shit like hieroglyphics for the first time on these skate videos and Casual and like Fear Itself and that kind of shit. And it really did it for me in terms of hip hop culture and expanded my kind of vocabulary. Listening to like the Alcoholics in like middle school, right?
Yeah. Remember when they were like brand spanking new as a group, when they were introduced, like everybody just mentioned, even the hieroglyphics. I remember when they first came out, they put all those guys together, like those are like the West Coast cats.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was like their version of Wu-Tang in a way, but that was like their collective. That was like their native tongue, like that was a fly era in hip hop, man, for me, man. Like the inspiration is derived from there. If anything.
So you ended up dropping this new album, God's Eden, just recently, and I've been listening to it over the past, say, week or so. Jerry had sent me an advance of it, and I just had this conversation. I'm glad that you ended up mentioning the Walkers, because when it comes to producer albums in general, I'm kind of hit or miss. One, I really like the idea of being able to get a producer album and feeling that by the end of the listen, I know that producer a little bit, right? He gives me a little bit of flair, a little bit of style on everything he can do, and he works with different cats and different sounds, and you kind of get a little bit of everything. But at the same time, there's generally almost a lack of cohesion, and there's something about them that by the end of the year, you don't really think of the producer albums as like album of the year type contenders, right? It's like one MC, one producer albums generally kind of do it for me. And the albums that I continue to go back to after the year is done tend to be kind of MC albums, right? Albums that have a name attached to it in terms of a rapper. But I had this conversation recently because after I had the conversation with Rim and he was telling me about the Walkers and listening to this album, because when I had the conversation with Rim, I was stoked about it. I was like, fuck, man, the Walkers, that sounds great. That's exactly the album that I want. And listening to this album, I know the Standouts are a part of it and whatnot as well, but this album feels like an album from the Walkers, right? You have everyone on here. And sure, you have a couple other cats. You have Lord Juco and Ace on Eastwood, and I'm from Canada, and I research Canadian hip-hop. That's what I do in terms of academics and kind of scholarly work as I work on Canadian hip-hop research. So I'm a big fan of Canadian hip-hop, and I love those features that you ended up adding in there as well. But you have Ty Farris on here. You have Rim. You got Rome Streetz all over this project, and the first single for the album is as well. I think it's the first single, but 1,000 Volts. The video is out now for it as well with Rome Streetz. You have Eddie Kaine on here quite a bit. It feels like an album from the Walkers, and that makes this album so much better, in my opinion, because it's exactly what I wanted, and it sounds cohesive. It sounds like this focused, directed piece of work aimed at kind of, I don't know, bringing attention to the Walkers as a group, and yourself as well as a producer. You do definitely get that flair of who you are, but it feels like here's my clique, here's who I fuck with, and here is our album. It feels like our album rather than here's my album. And it's a really, really beautiful piece of work. If you haven't if you're listening to this on the radio, we're going to be playing select songs from God's Eden throughout the night. So you guys are going to be well familiar with the sound of the album. That being said, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching the web series, pause this video. I say this all the time, but pause the video, listen to the album, listen to God's Eden. It's available on Bandcamp, and then come back here. But this album is truly wonderful. I'm so glad that Jerry ended up sending this over to me. And I like I said, I've been tapped into what you've been doing for a while, but this is a beautiful piece of work. I just wanted to congratulate you on the album and kind of talk a little bit about how it felt like, that Walkers experience rather than just a Wavy da Ghawd album.
Well, some of these recordings were from 2019, and
Sure.
with the intent, we have many intentions to like take some of these recordings, these random recordings, and like apply it to a project, to a Walker's project or whatever, I ain't gonna lie, there's little discrepancies over songs because we was trying to figure things out. But like at the end of the day, it's like I feel like creativity will be dominant amongst us. We can always make a Walker's project, These are my boys. These are my bros, man. I'm naturally gonna have music displayed from them. It goes back to let's look at Raekwon, only built for Cuban links. At the end of the day, that was a Wu-Tang album.
100%.
But Raekwon's name was on it. Old Dirty Bastard's album. That was a Wu-Tang's album, but Old Dirty Bastard name was on it. You know what I'm saying?
That whole first run of solo albums from the Wu was done in that way.
Different names. It was just finding they use all the same Wu packaging, the same sounds, everything. They packed them in. That's how they did the albums.
Yep.
Especially for Cuban Links, because every song down there had a Wu member on it, like a group of them rapping on it. Only a few songs, was Ray and Ghost, and then one was Ray, one was Ghost. They had their own solo. It was like a mixture. That was it was a compile. Compilation. I told my cousin the other day that you don't see a lot of compilation projects out these days. Like, producer would just stick with one MC, and do a project. And there's no crime of like putting out a compilation project with with different dope MCs on there, different pedigrees.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Different flows, different context. You know what I'm saying? Same sound. And I just felt like it'll be dope. I thought about like the Violator album compilation that came out, the Rough Rider compilation. I thought about like all of those great compilations that are like held up in hip hop history. You know what I'm saying? Like those. Remember Soundbombing?
Yeah, Soundbombing 1 and 2, Lyricist Lounge, like those shit were so ill. Yeah.
That's where that was like my aim.
Yeah.
I was aiming for that feeling again because nobody does that type of shit anymore. Yeah,
you mentioned a couple good names there, like the Rough Riders compilations. I think are really key. And I'll be completely honest, I wasn't as tapped into that scene when it was going on with DMX and Rest in Peace DMX and that whole kind of clique. But at the same time, I own those compilations. They're on the back wall here somewhere. I've listened to them, and I think that's a really good example almost of what this is, right? This is a particular sound. Those Rough Riders compilations filled with Swizz beats, filled with producers that are within that clique and that kind of era and that, within that clique, within that scene. And they those albums sound cohesive, right? They sound like Rough Riders albums. They sound like collective albums. Whereas I think as dope as the sound bombing compilations are, at the same time, if you listen to those, you have an Eminem track on one, you have Ari the Rugged Man, you have maybe like Company Flow on another, then you have Mos Def and Talib Kweli, and that's produced by, I don't know, DJ High Tech or somebody, right? Like you have a wide range of sounds on an album like that, and as dope as it is, and they're classic, and the songs on them stand the test of time, they're not necessarily the most cohesive projects, right? You listen to them a lot because the songs are super dope on an individual level, but the Rough Riders compilations, on the other hand, are like really cohesive albums. If you're in the mood for that sound, that's a perfect album to throw on. Any of those, like at least the first like 3 Rough Riders comps are definitely in that kind of ballpark. This album feels like that. It feels like, hey, here's this collective. Here is the Walkers. Here's what we've been doing over the last little while. And if I listen to this, like I listen to 1,000 Volts, for example, that sounds like a Rome Streetz track, right? It doesn't sound like, oh, here's like a Wavy da Ghawd song and Rome Streetz is on it, right? It sounds like a Rome Streetz song, but then you end up moving forward in the album. You get shit. What's the song with Ace on Eastwood and Lord Juco?
Oh man, that's not Pre-Rolls, man. I got like 15 songs in there.
Pre-Rolls is just with Lord Juco, I think. There's another song with just Ace on Eastwood and Lord Juco, but that shit sounds again like their material, like nothing, like this scene that you're within. Say It Ain't So. Yeah, exactly. These songs, they sound like the artists that you're working with. It sounds like their palette. It sounds what they're comfortable with. It doesn't sound anything. It doesn't sound odd, right? It sounds like this is their native home. This is where they're most comfortable with. This is the sound that they're known for. And you just happen to have that sound because you're in this scene. You're actually like the dude you're like the Swizz Beatz of Rough Riders kind of thing, right? You're involved and you create these palettes for these guys. And I don't know, listening to this album, I go in with expectations being, oh shit, this is a Wavy da Ghawd album and this is going to be dope because Wavy da Ghawd's never disappointed. But I walk away from the album saying, holy shit, this was a different experience than I thought I was going to get. I thought I was going to get this kind of maybe sporadic compilation album that seems maybe a little bit messy, maybe. But the songs are going to be dope, and I knew the songs were going to be dope. But I walked away saying, oh shit, this is the Walkers album that I wanted a week ago when Rim told me about it, and I'm so fucking happy that this exists.
Oh man, wait till an actual Walkers album is put together, man.
Yeah, talk about that. What's the progress on that? When I talked to Rim, I forget exactly what he told me, but he said that it's cooking or something.
I'm waiting for them to pull the trigger and be like, they already know the vibes with me, man. I'm ready whenever they are. You know, like, to any type of new recordings. We already got old recordings hanging around and whatnot. We always, I'm always sending beats to the guys. I'm always giving beats to the bros. Yeah, man. Like, so I think it all comes in just natural and organic, man. Like, I feel like if we focus on, I think if we really, really focus on the project, something could transpire from it. If instead of just doing it like sporadically like that, because I think it'll be more beautiful if we really focus our energy on the actual project.
The other crazy,
instead of digging in the vault.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you want everyone to feel
fresh
as
goods.
if this is fresh goods, that this is a kind of a live, this is an active album. This is something that's in the moment and it feels current and feels new. You don't want stale shit, right? As much as the music's going to be dope regardless, and a lot of fans aren't going to be able to tell the difference, you want the artist to be excited about what they're putting out. You want it to be fresh. You want it to feel like it's their best shit. And I think this is probably the case for any creative, but even if the shit's really dope and the fans love it, and you're really excited about the material, after a few years, your new shit is your favorite, and it's hard to go back to stuff you put out 2-3 years ago because it feels like you just weren't up to par compared to where you are today. And it's almost like this never ending cycle. But I'll put out shit that I think, oh man, this is a really good interview. This is really dope. And then 2 years later, I say, oh man, this is a really dope interview. The new shit that I do. But then I go back and check out that old shit, and it's hard to watch, right? You want the artist to be excited about whatever they're putting out.
You want to give people that feeling when they hear the shit, they stand up out their chair.
Man, 100%. One of the things that I find fascinating as well is you and this whole crew that you're with. You guys have all kind of climbed this ladder at the same time, but independently in a lot of ways as well, right? You have people like Eddie Kaine that just did the new album with Big Ghost, and I think that's the biggest shit that he's ever been a part of, right? And you see all these new names being tuned into Eddie Kaine because of the shit that he did with Big Ghost. You see people like Rim, and he's on the up and up, right? Because he's on albums like A Tree Grows from Brooklyn, the Big Ghost and Eddie Kaine album. He's on all these albums. Then you have Rome Streetz, right? Like, holy shit, the ascent and rise of Rome Streetz over the last year, from working with DJ Muggs and then the Griselda thing. Like, you're a fan of Rome Streetz, obviously. You're a friend of Rome Streetz. What's your kind of reaction like when you see, oh man, I'm working on a new album with DJ Muggs. I'm on Hitler 8 over and over and over again. Like what?
Like I was like one of the first few. I was like one of the first. One of the first person that knew about all of these revelations.
Yeah.
To be real with you. You know what I'm saying? I knew about the Griselda shit months before he even mentioned the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like but that's my boy. You know, he don't talk to me about things. And, I'm gonna keep that shit confidential. I wasn't gonna put him on blast and ruin. It's like a sacred bond. You know what I'm saying? And I rock with dude, man. I rock with dude heavy, man. No dick riding shit, man. It's like dude looked out for me outside this hip hop shit. So I'm not only a fan of this music, man. It's just that on some human shit, man. That's my man. That's my dude.
Man, 100%. It seems like everyone that you end up rolling with, you guys have stuck together over years and years and years at this point, and the grind is impeccable, right? It's so steady, and there's this hunger, and you guys are so active. And I love that the hip-hop community at large is starting to pay attention to what you guys are doing. Let it be Rome Streetz or Eddie Kaine or Ty Farris with the Cocaine series and what he's doing, because that shit's ill, and people are starting to tap into that. And then your name has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I would see you working with cats like Rome and Eddie and all these guys, but now I see your name in an album like this, like God's Eden, right? This is your album. You're shining. And people are going to start recognizing your name as kind of this tip-top producer if they haven't already. And I feel like a lot of people that are tapped into this underground rap scene, they know your name, right? But maybe that wasn't the case 3-4 years ago. And it's just been this steady climb, and you guys are all kind of doing this together. And I'm so happy that like I said, the hip-hop community at large is really starting to tap into what you guys are doing, because I think it's well-deserved, and I love the art. And yeah, I love the art. It's very, very well deserved.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Che, man. He's the mighty Che, man. He's the one who did that for me. And the photos that's within the art, man, that's G Media, man. Shout out to him too. You know what I'm saying? I had many art dudes that helped out. Because I was trying to come up with different variations for the art.
Yeah.
But I mean, I ain't going to say leftover art. I ain't going to call it leftover art, because no art is never wasted, man.
Sure.
Shit, I'll turn around and put that shit on a hoodie or something, because the art is so good, but I just couldn't make it for the album cover or some shit. You feel me? So it's all love is going to be, everybody has a purpose. Nobody, you can say no to people, yeah, but like sometimes when somebody's on the grind and sharing the same passion as you, man, either as an artist, a graphic designer, whatever they are, music engineer who records you and tunes your vocals or whatnot. If they ain't share the same passion, man, you got to give them a fair shake at least, man. Like you got to recognize the shit, because once upon a time I was that guy that Like you
Yeah.
said, nobody really knew. You know, no matter how much I was in the scene, nobody really knew. But you know, I always was told if you want to, you know, if you want that position, you got to take it. You know,
100%.
and this album was just to like show people like what would my sound be in a different type of MCs, different type of flavor of MCs, different styles. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
And
Yep.
I could put out some shit. You know, just put me to the challenge. You know, I take this shit as like a challenge all day, man. I treat it like some Dragon Ball shit, straight up.
Man.
Like for real, I really be on some training shit. Like I'm always practicing.
I love it. Man,
So
I love this album. I think it's a fantastic listen from beginning to end. I can't wait for everyone else to end up hearing this. It's out now. It's exclusive on Bandcamp. Again, it's called God's Eden. I heard that you have some new work on the go as well. I was speaking to Ason Eastwood earlier in the year, and he said that he had something cooking with you.
yes.
And I think you have new shit on the way with China Streets as well, right? What's currently on the plate for the rest of 2021 at the very least, and maybe first quarter 2022? What's currently on the go?
Man, I'm actually thinking about putting together another project. Either it's going to be a beat tape, or it's going to be a beat tape / a few cuts of songs within the beat tape.
Okay.
I'm thinking about doing something of that magnitude, and you know, I already got a title for it in my head already, because I was sitting there in my quiet moment, but I'm not even gonna think about that now because I'm talking about God's Eden. So I'm thinking about putting out another project later on, probably New Year's or some shit. Maybe, I don't know. I'm working on things with different people, man. I'm just trying to see how much we can get done. I'm not gonna say who it may be because everything is still fresh right now.
Okay.
But I am working with several people, man. I got one person out on the West Coast I could mention, Maya, man.
Maya.
She's over there.
I haven't heard that name.
She's with Planet Asia.
Oh, okay.
This is Planet Asia's MC. She's a dope MC. Check her out. Check her out, man. On IG, she's Ya Creates. She's a very dope MC, man. You need to check her out, man. I always try to give my women a fair shake in hip hop, man. Like the ones that I feel like are like dope to me. Their pen is just dope, and their cadence is dope. Like I give them their fair shake, just like I would a man. So, you know, I have like this thing where I'm trying to just push this envelope where I can just get women, where I can showcase more women MCs out here. You know, I seen a woman producer recently. She passed away recently. Blessed girl, man. She put out a hell of a project with my dude Jamal Gasol. You know, and that's uncharted, man. It's not every day you see a girl in there doing
on the boards with that level of caliber.
Yeah. They don't get the praise, man. So, you know, I feel like I have to push an envelope on that note, you know, because it's, you know, I believe in some sort of equality in that form, and women do deserve a fair shake in hip hop. I'm just letting that be known.
100%, man. I'm so excited for all the future work that you have going on. I haven't checked out Maya, but I'm excited just because your name's on it to go and do my homework and check out what she has as well. And Planet Asia's name's on it. Like, holy shit, fucking love Planet Asia and everything he does, everything he touches, everything he co-signs is amazing. And I think he's a large reason why this Renaissance movement even exists. Shout outs to Planet Asia and everything that he's done for this thing, because it can't be understated at all. Him, DJ Muggs, Husk Kingpin, I don't know, fuck, man, the list goes on, but these people, Rock Marciano, obviously, these people need their praise in terms of what they delivered us, and transitioning from the era before to this era that we're living in now. These guys are very vital for that transition to occur. Man, I can't thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. This has been a blast, and I'd love to have you back on in the future whenever you have new material coming out. Where can people find you? Where can people stay up to date with current music?
Man, well, Right now, I got my music on Bandcamp. You can look me up on all platforms. All you gotta do is jot down my name, and I'll pop up on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. My album is not on there yet. Soon I'll put it on all platforms. But for right now, you have to go cop it on Bandcamp. Support the artist. You dig? And yeah, man, you can go on YouTube. I got music out on YouTube, all up on YouTube with different artists. All you gotta do is punch in my name, and trust me, you'll see a whole array of music. You won't be surprised. You won't be disappointed.
And the name is spelled a little bit different too for people listening at home, especially on the radio portion. It's WAVYDA, then GHAWD, Wavy da Ghawd. But yeah, man, do your homework. Check him out on Instagram. Follow him on all the music listening platforms, and go and do your homework, man. 100%.
Yeah, word. Big walk. Yo, this is Wavy da Ghawd on the Renaissance Show, man. Tap the fuck in, man. Big walk.